me lower this a little bit.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Leslie Vernick's public page, Enriching Relationships That Matter Most. I am Coach Leanne Parsons, and I am really honored to be here with my friend and colleague, Coach Elise. Hey, Elise, good to see
Hey,
you.
love. Good to see you. Always good to see you. I'm glad to be able to do this with you today.
Indeed.
Wonderful.
Well, today's kind of a really special day in the land of ladies. Today is International Women's Day. It's a day that we get to celebrate our femininity. We get to celebrate the fact that God created women in his
Mhm.
image too, just like he created man. God's
Mhm.
word says, I created man and women. We created man and women in our image. And so
Mhm.
we get to celebrate women
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
So we primarily
Mhm.
speak to women, we coach women. And so
Mhm.
we are so glad that you are here and that we can celebrate. So a shout out to women, a
Yeah.
shout out to women, strong women. May we raise them,
Mhm.
may we encourage them, and may we be them.
Amen.
Be them. And, let us know, let Coach Elise and I know if we are live. Hey, Kelly, I see you. Hi, Julie. Hey, Deborah. I feel
Mhm.
so blessed that I am off
Mhm.
today
Mhm.
and able to watch live, says Deborah. Thank you. We're blessed that you're here with us. And hey,
Yeah.
Lizette, so good to see you. Wow, I just had a very big quail. I am very aware of it's very sunny and a quail just jumped right in front of my face out my window right now. So, Elise,
It's just a little distracting sometimes.
it is, and
Yeah.
this is where we are here to talk about a really important topic. You're
Right.
joining us today because this topic resonated with you. Maybe you got an email. Maybe you're just jumping on,
Right.
and this topic about 3 great reasons, good boundaries.
Or good for you.
Okay, 3 great reasons to have. I missed a word. Three
Yeah.
great reasons to have good boundaries for yourself. All right, so here we go. While
Yeah.
I fix that,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love it if you, our listeners, would participate with us. When you hear the word boundary, what does that mean? What is a boundary? Can you help us define it? Ooh, it can be such a big topic, right? At least you and I
It
both.
really is. It really is. I
So
actually would say sometimes, like when I'm talking with clients and stuff, I always say, don't use the word boundary when you're explaining yourself. I think it's a fighting word. Well, that's one of my boundaries, right? Like that's kind of throwing down the gauntlet. Like just be the boundary, just use the boundary, just exercise the boundary. Don't use the word. I just think it incites some fighting, some fight. Like, hey, well, if that's your boundary, this is my boundary. Right? And so, but I think to really get clear definitions around boundary, we have to know what we think they are. Like, what are they? And so oftentimes I think we see them as limiting others when they're actually healthy limits upon ourselves. But I want to hear what the other ladies have to say about boundaries and kind of what is their thought, what is their thinking when they hear the word boundaries and they want to exercise their boundaries. Sorry, I'm kind of fiddling with my hair today. I just can't get it going in the right direction at all. What is it that they're exercising? What's the purpose behind it? Why am I actually engaging in a boundary? So protect self. Yes, Julie, we're gonna talk about that today. Is protect self. That's actually one of the things that Leanne and I were talking about. Just be the boundary. Yeah. Let's
love
see
that.
what else. Just be the
Just be a
boundary.
boundary.
Yeah.
I love that. When you said that, Elise, it just, caused me to get super excited for a moment. We don't need to say, I am setting a boundary right now. We can live that boundary. We can
Right.
walk it out. And sometimes our actions will speak much louder than our words ever could, because
Mm-hmm.
that word can be threatening to some.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, a boundary is a guardrail. I've done a
Mm-hmm.
live before where I talked about a boundary being like bumpers down a
Mm-hmm.
bowling lane. It's going to prevent me from getting into the gutter.
All right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
one of my definitions of boundary. It's some
Mhm.
protection
Mhm.
around my behavior, around
Right.
my energy, around my level of engagement with other people.
Mhm. Yeah. Cool. Lisette, I'm right with you. Boundaries are, set self-respect. Yes, self-respect, right?
Yes.
How do I respect myself? And how to teach others how to treat you. Right. Now, whether they do or not is up to them, but it does help others know who you are. And so I basically say oftentimes that boundaries are about self definition, how we define ourselves to other. And Lisette, really, you're kind of saying that like, you know, who we are and who we are not. And so one of the things, kind of this three great reasons to have boundaries, is one of the things is it defines ourselves, right? It defines who we are and who we are not. And so one of the things I'd like to kind of like, one of the, even in our coaching land, sometimes we have to say, well, that's in the coaching framework. That's a boundary. That's not in a therapeutic
Right.
framework, right? We're setting a boundary of the difference between the two. And, and so we're always defining a lot of things all the time. And sometimes we're not even aware of how much definition we're doing. But in order to have healthy boundaries, we want you to really kind of up your awareness. Is that who I am? Is that who I am not? We are defining the self. And so, one of the things I would love for you guys to kind of engage in the chat, if you will, is just that simple. If we're going to define the self, that's one of the reasons, so that we can define ourselves to others. I think that's reason number one is I would love for you to put that in the chat. If you thought about who am I, what would you say?
Mm.
I would say a couple things, and I think this is how I define myself in roles, but there's a lot of other ways we define ourselves, and let's kind of really roll this over a lot. Let's tumble dry it a lot. I'm a wife. Let's go back and forth, Leanne, just for a second. I'm a wife. Let's do roles. What are
Mm.
you as a role? What do you not a role that we eat, but a role. But what's a
Yeah.
role?
So I'm a wife and I'm a mother.
Right, right. I'm a daughter.
I'm a grandma.
I'm a friend.
I'm an aunt.
I'm a blonde.
I'm a redhead.
There you go. Right.
And I'm a
I
coach.
I'm a Christian.
I'm a colleague.
Yes. And now I'm running out. So y'all, a child of God. Amen. Thank
Child
you.
of God.
Right.
And I love that I love, Wendy, that you said that, because
Yeah.
guess what? Boundaries are also a reverence for who God is. He created you.
Yes. Yes.
That is an undeniable truth.
I'm an image bearer. We
An
were
image
talking about
bearer
that
of
before it came on. I am an image bearer. I bear the image of God. He created me to bear his image. So that's part of an I am, right? So we got to the end of this game a little bit, but maybe so all right, if we go away from roles, if we define ourselves by character,
Mm,
I am, I hope, loving.
mm.
What would you say?
Kind. I am kind.
Yeah, I am calm. Maybe. Yeah,
I am strong.
yeah, yeah. I am curious.
I am thoughtful.
Yes, that's true for you, Leanne. Very true. Um, I am fun. I think that's true for you too.
Indeed, I think we are fun.
Yeah.
We are fun.
Now, so
Mhm.
we're still saying, so there's sometimes that we define ourselves in roles. Sometimes we define ourselves by our character. Sometimes we define ourselves by, I'm not going to say politically, I guess I could, but, we define ourselves by the political stance we take, right? We define ourselves by the political stance we don't take. We define ourselves by, some of the values that we hold. We define ourselves by some of the values that we don't hold, or some of the ideals that we don't hold. So this self-definition is huge. It's very deep and wide, and we are always, always, always defining ourselves, even when we're not aware of it. Like when we get
Mhm.
snarky sometimes, we kind of go, somebody says, hey, well, she's a pretty snarky girl, or she can be kind of rude, or I've known her to be a mean girl. right? And so, and so we don't really like to define ourselves by negatives,
Mhm.
but unfortunately we do in situations where our best self does not show up. So it is our responsibility. And this is one of the things that you said, we were talking earlier, about it is our responsibility that we are very aware of how we are defining ourselves all the time. Can we invite them to say who we are not?
Mhm.
Okay. So we're going to we're going to let you start. We see that there's at least 45 women watching.
That's
So
right.
I want to see a lot more engagement, right? So should we go further with the who I am, see if we can get some more? Now that we've
I
kind of,
would
what was
Yeah,
your,
we've primed the pump
okay,
beautifully. We
okay,
primed the pump beautifully. And so as we define ourselves, ladies, this is an opportunity for you to take a stand and claim who it is that you are.
right.
Oftentimes, I am coaching women, and I can fall into this myself. I can get wishy-washy about who I am. I can get weak in the knees when I am trying to own my character and own myself because I'm afraid it's going to sound prideful. So
Mhm,
even for me to come up with who I am kind, I am wise, I am discerning,
mhm,
whatever that could be, I can be worried. I can have this fear
mhm,
inside of me that it's going to be self promoting if I say who I am.
mhm,
And ladies, we have an opportunity now to claim God imprinted in you, in your DNA, who it is you are. And part of our work to do is to figure out who we are and who we are not,
right,
and what we are for and what we are not
right,
for.
correct.
So I
Mhm,
am for healthy relationships.
yep, yep,
I am against abuse.
there it is.
Those two pillars,
There it is.
they're two different places, right? Those two
Right,
pillars are huge.
right,
I am a child of God.
right.
I am not a child of this world,
Yes.
even though sometimes I act like her and
Mhm,
I get really super selfish and I want my way.
mhm, mhm,
But that's not who I am. That's just how I feel in the moment. And
mhm,
so we get an opportunity here to claim our identities
mhm.
in Christ. I am clothed in strength and dignity, says Bev. I am strong and fearless, free woman of God, says Becky. I am child of God, chosen by him. Yes, you are the apple of his eye.
Mhm.
Amen. I'm learning not to accept the labels.
Ah,
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Way to go. People will try to put labels on you all day long. They will
Mhm,
try to define you to have you fit into their box.
mhm,
Boundaries keep you outside of their box and in your own lane.
mhm.
In your own lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm caring, compassionate, generous, daughter of the King. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm a child of God. Now here it comes. I'm glad we went back to this. Right, ladies, I really want you saying for yourself, start thinking for yourself, who am I? Am I defining myself well? You know, I'm a child of God. I'm a grandmother, a mom, mother-in-law. Yes, aunt, sister, daughter.
And,
Mother.
Lisa, I love this because do we know ourselves? We're so busy momming and
Right,
gramming and
right,
community girl and working, all
right,
of these things. We can get caught up in the role. We are much
right,
more than
right.
what we do. We are much
Exactly.
more than what we do.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And I think the thing is, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, that oftentimes, especially in not so healthy relationships, we have people in our life who want to define us and put us in that box. No, you're my mom. No, you're my wife. What does that mean? That I always just think like you think because I'm your wife? I don't know. And so, so oftentimes someone is trying to kind of rob us of our own. And when we use the word self, I want you to think of yourself, our own self definition. Who did God define us to be? Right. And so, some of us are simply stronger personalities than other personalities. And I think that that is God given, right? We're all super strong personalities. We probably be more at war than we already are, right? But also, if you have a softer personality, doesn't mean that you have a passive personality, right? And so, but you could have a softer nature about you. That's a beautiful thing. Like own it, define yourself by it, love it, embrace it, right? And don't let someone else define who you are. That belongs to you. I am in love with Jesus. Hey,
And we so often, Elise, we do that. We let other people, because it's scary to get to know ourselves
it is.
and to live with ourselves. Sometimes the harshest voice is the one that we give ourselves,
Right.
how we talk to ourselves. And so, my friends, boundaries was God's idea. It's boundaries were God's design. He created the heavens and the earth. He separated the earth from the sky, the water from the land.
Right.
Those are boundaries.
Right.
And so some people say boundaries aren't Christ-like. How can I be Christ-like and set a boundary? Let me just ask a question here of everybody who's here. I want to ask you, does loving someone in a godly way mean that you never say, no, stop, that's not okay with me? Is that loving in a healthy way? No. Loving someone in a godly way, you have the freedom and the courage and the brave to say, no, stop, I'm not okay with that. And it's a privilege granted to you. So loving someone in a godly way doesn't mean you never say no. And I've talked with women in my coaching practice, and you probably have too, Elise, that believe that they can't say no. They can't stand up. They can't own who it is that they are. And do you know how you want to be treated? This is defining self and honoring yourself. At least when we were talking before, you're like, wow, this is all about honoring ourselves as well. And perhaps this is resonating with you and you are loving. You're picking, like we said, you're picking up what we're putting down. You're picking up what we're putting down. If that's really important to you, we want to give you an opportunity to go right to this page right now.
Right.
We have a group coaching program that's starting next week. Next Monday, we are off and running with Walking in Core Strength. It's a 3-month group coaching program just for women, Christian women, who want to learn what it means. You want to know your who.
There it is.
You want to know your who. Who are you? As you define yourself, honor yourself, protect yourself. Do you know the who that you want to define, honor, and protect? We're going to help you find your who in this group coaching program as you learn to walk in core strength. And so I wanted to put a shout out to this program. We only have a few spots left.
We really do. They're really, when I saw the numbers this morning, I was like, wow, we are close to close. Right.
Reserve your seat. We'd love to meet
you. If you have not joined and you are interested at all, I don't think there's many days left to be able to join this go round. You'd have to wait till the fall. So, but we would love to have you. All right, Sharon, I love your words. I am hardworking. She knows it. I'm a hardworking girl. I'm honest. I'm a truth teller, a lover of truth, a lover of learning, strong, caring, generous, lover of healthy communication, and so much more.
And she says, and I have a voice.
I have a voice. There is a me.
I love that. You have a voice. And with boundaries, we have choices on how it is we're going to use those and how it is we're going to communicate those. And this goes into knowing, what do you need? Knowing, what do you want? Do you know what you want and need in order for your well-being to be supported the way God wants you to steward your life? Do you know what you want and need? I love these I am statements. So powerful. I'm a lover of justice.
Yeah. And so I think it's starting to flow a lot here. So this is kind of a straight up to the I am not. So maybe we'll start engaging in that just a little bit. The I am not. You need to know equally, the I am nots. So when my kids were, at home with me, like, I'm your mom, I'm not your maid, and that's just a boundary. It's just a, normal in the house, working with a family, and so, like, I'm not going to pick that up. You're responsible for picking that up. Like, I am your mother. I am not your maid. So start thinking of, and this is not as easy to kind of come up with. And so I should have brainstormed a couple more things out. So, sometimes I'm not your yes girl, right? I'm not your, the person that will do anything that you don't want to do. I am not, I'm not a person that will go into that establishment. I'm not a person that'll watch that movie. I'm not a person who will say yes to that level of partying. I'm not a person that will say, I'm not a person that spends that kind of money. So those are just definitions. And so, sometimes even in our own friendships, they're like, yeah, she doesn't usually go with us because she doesn't want to spend the money. That's a boundary. It's her boundary. It's not my boundary. It's her boundary. She doesn't like to spend money, and that belongs to her. And that's a healthy way of which where she says no. And it is defining kind of who she is and who she's not. I will participate in this. I won't participate in that. Right. So, this, these three reasons to have healthy boundaries is one is that we have to know ourselves, right? We have to have the why behind it, as you really talk about, Leanne, a lot. Like, why am I going to have this boundary? Do I know why I don't, eat out a lot? That's not true of me, but, or why I do eat a lot, right? Because I want to spend time doing other things and have someone feed me, I guess, but that's okay. Right. But we're always defining ourselves. And so how many of you kind of know someone's always late to the party? They're always late to the tennis court, or they're always late to your pickleball court, right? They're the last one to roll up, and so sometimes how we define ourselves can be in a negative way. Are we aware of it?
That self-awareness is so huge, and for me, if I were to speak about it, I am not the regulator of your emotions.
I love it.
I am not in charge. I am not in charge of your thoughts. I am not in charge of your emotions. Right. And I'm not in charge of what you choose to do.
There it is.
And this is big. This was big in my life I was a woman who kind of lived somewhat of a boundaryless life. I people pleased. I thought that was kind. I thought that was taking care of people. That was being compassionate and caring. And what I found out was that was overing.
Yeah.
And it enabled other people to not take care of themselves and to know their who and what they were for and what they were against and what their roles were. It muddied the water. So this is another reason, my friend, the topic of our conversation today, right, is reasons to have good boundaries. Another reason to have a good boundary is so you allow the other person to be them.
Yes.
You empower them to be them instead of taking their identity away. How many of you in this space feel like other people have hijacked your identity? Maybe you've had your identity stolen. Boy, we see a lot of that happening.
Yeah, scary.
In the world around us. We had that happen to us a few years back. And so as we have a good boundary for ourselves, it takes responsibility for ourselves, and it's really respectful to other people, Elise. That really came up for me as I was preparing. It's allowing them to be them.
Yeah.
Just like we want them to allow us to be us.
Yes, absolutely. Amanda, thank you. I'm not lazy. I will not be controlled and manipulated by others. Yeah, absolutely. We have to know that. We have to be very aware of that, or that will happen, especially if a very strong somebody on the other side of you. Boundaries empower others. Yeah, to be them. Yes, thank you. So, sometimes I'm just reading without looking at your name, Kelly. Thank you for putting this. Nancy says, I love this. I need to put my glasses on because I can't read that.
My prayer partners, she
said. Yeah, my prayer partners and I have been focusing on who we are in Jesus. Yeah, I also love that my big circle can include values and qualities that I want to be. Yes. Or I am becoming. Yes. This puts me in the direction that I want to grow. Wonderful. Yeah.
I love that too, Nancy. And boundaries, another great reason to have a good boundary. It helps you identify your strengths and weaknesses and helps you to really take ownership of who it is that you are and who you're not.
Right.
And so, we have more capacity, at least, than I think any of us realize that we have. Our bodies will take us farther than our brain will ever tell us we can. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so you
jumped out of an airplane, so I believe that about you. I'm not sure.
And that was, this is something I never thought I would do, but I did.
Right.
Because there's a lot of reasons. I don't do anything like just to do it.
Right.
So there was a real motivation for me. I had some fears in my life. One of them was a fear of setting boundaries and speaking up for myself.
Oh, wow.
And so when I had an opportunity to step beyond my fear, I did it. And I did jump out of a perfectly good airplane. at 10,000 feet, and I flew like a bird. And what I found on the other side of that
Mhm.
was my brave.
Yeah.
Boundaries are brave.
They are brave.
Boundaries are brave.
Right.
And, they're having respect for others. It helps us build our inner strength. It also helps us to own our inner strength. We all
Mhm.
have strength and weaknesses,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
boundaries honor both.
Mhm.
Boundaries honor both.
Yes.
I cannot be in a conversation where I'm being yelled at
Right.
from my grandkids, my husband, my kids, in the community. If we're at a heated leadership meeting or something, if I'm going to be yelled at, I can't be in that conversation. I will have to excuse myself.
So there's an I will not,
That's right.
right? So, or I am not. And then I think boundaries also include of what we will do and what we will not do. And so
Amen.
Leanne is saying she knows that about herself. She won't allow it. She has put limits on herself. She did not say to the others, you can't yell at me, right? Because they can. They're doing it, right? And so, but you can say, if you're going to yell at me, I'm going to remove myself. And that's what Leanne's saying. I can't be in a room where there's, people yelling, there's a lot of high conflict. I'm going to remove myself. She's setting a boundary upon herself. It's the limit in which she will go to, and she won't go any further. And it's the way we honor ourselves, right?
It is. And knowing why, knowing your why is that important? It
Right.
zaps my well-being, it zaps my energy, and I can't be my best self then. Because I feel like that kind of energy is contagious, and I can go over the line easy and quickly with
Right.
my attitude or my thoughts. I can feel like I need to put my dukes up, and that's not the woman I want to be.
Right.
So if this situation is not going to allow me to be the woman I want to be, I'm going to excuse myself and give myself a little bit of a break.
Right. Right.
And that's a boundary. I will not have deep conversations after 8 p.m. at night.
There it is. There's some more. So I often say boundaries are who I am. Well, kind of back to our original question, basically I say boundaries are about self-definition, how we define ourselves to others.
Mhm.
And Leanne is just, it's just rolling out at this point, right? Who I am, who I'm not. Number 2 is what I will do, what I won't do. I won't have a conversation after 8:00. The other person can have a conversation. I'm not going to try to stop that. I'm not going to participate in it. It's just the limit I set upon myself. And, Leanne, I'm probably guessing that you find that for yourself, you're not your best self. And so, I'm likely to lose my temper. I'm likely not, able to stay calm. I'm likely to get reactive. I'm likely, and so I know that about myself. So I set that limit upon myself that I won't engage in hard conversations after 8:00. Fun conversations, yes. Hard, no. Right?
Right.
So
I'm not going to talk and I mute after 8. It's just, I just want to make that clear. I don't go mute.
Yeah. Yeah. So who I am, who I'm not, what I will do, what I won't do. Right. And then, and Leanne and I were talking about kind of how we honor ourselves, how we protect ourselves. This is a reason so that I can honor myself. It's a reason that I can protect myself. But let me share these 2 other things. And I know you guys have heard it. I'm going to keep saying it as long as I'm with Leslie about boundaries. 1 is, who I am, who I'm not. 2 is what I will do, what I won't do. 3 is what belongs to me and what does not belong to me. Leanne said that a little bit earlier. Those are your emotions. I'm not going to own them. They belong to you, right? I'm not going to take responsibility. And that's the 4th one is what is my responsibility? What is not my responsibility? You have to know that about yourself to hold healthy boundaries. And the stronger and the more solid, the more sure, the more well-formed your boundaries are, people are going to know you well. And they're either going to gravitate towards it or they're going to stay back because they're like, no, that girl won't do that. I know that.
Your boundaries help you find your tribe.
They do. 100%. 100%. Yeah. And so, girls kind of write that down. Hopefully, Kelly, you're maybe putting some of those 1 to 4 things. But then why, what are a couple good reasons? And really, truthfully, Leanne and I could have put 6 or 7 reasons because she shared 3, I shared 3, and we're like, well, hey, we like them both, but now they're 6. So we're kind of commingling them a little bit. And so, but we both agreed really kind of on this self definition and honoring, and we both agreed about protection too. It's like we use healthy boundaries, help us find our tribe. They're people that we know that we can live with well, right?
And that
And
we can
so,
trust and that are safe, depending on what your values are.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when, your values are going to help define you as well. And boundaries and values go hand in hand. When we know what we value, it's going to be much easier to speak our boundaries. And it's not just enough to know your boundaries. You want to live them out. You want to live them out. And this can be really hard, like Elise said at the beginning. Live them. Do your
yeah,
boundaries.
yeah,
Walk them
yeah,
out. Don't just
yeah.
speak about them.
Right. Yeah. Or
And
I think the way we say it, instead of saying a boundary, we say, I'm just not willing to do that.
that's right.
You don't have to say my boundaries, that's not my boundary, or, that crosses my boundary or whatever. Just say, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to allow that for me. Like, you can do it. I'm not going to do it. Right.
Right. And, it may be really good and easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, I just actually wrote a blog for Leslie. It's going to be coming out this month, and it's going to be on how to speak a boundary when your husband is involved in behaviors that you don't agree with, and that maybe are a violation of your values. And how do you speak that? How do you speak that? So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're on the mailing list.
Yeah.
And so, we can honor the other person by saying even things like, wow, I know you really like to go out with your friends. If you're going to choose to participate in heavy drinking, I will not be joining you.
Yeah.
Simple. I don't have to say I have a boundary and the consequences is no.
Right.
Is know it for yourself. Know
Right.
it, define what it is that you're doing. But when you communicate it and speak it,
Mm-hmm.
do it in love. Honor them.
And ladies, I hope that you heard that from Leanne. It's just how much softer that was, right? Instead of using the word boundaries and all those, it's just like, if you're going to do that, I prefer you didn't. That, I get worried when you go out and drink. If you're going to do that, I won't be joining you. That's it. And that's just an I will and I
As
won't.
simple as that. And we can leave it there.
You
And
know,
then this is the other part. What are some great reasons to have good boundaries? It teaches you, my friends, to follow through, to not get stuck in the messy middle. You can uphold your boundary. It's scary. It's risky. I get it. I hear you. I see you. It's scary to say I'm not going to go with you. And we can get worried about missing all the fun. We can get worried about what other people think and how they're perceiving if we're not there. That's our personal work to do. And we can't do this work alone. Join us in Walking in Core Strength. 3 months of group coaching, focused in on core, committing to the truth of who you are. We've at least did such a beautiful job, right? Defining ourselves, honoring ourselves. That's committing to truth. Being open to the Holy Spirit and wise others. Not pretending that you're okay when you're not okay.
Right.
How many of you, type into the chat. Let's see, what do I want you to type into the chat? Yes, just type the word yes. If you have ever said you were okay when you're really not okay on the inside, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever hidden the best part of you because you were afraid of what other people think? Have you ever done that? Type into the chat. Let us hear from you. A yes, an okay, a yes, I did that. Okay, look at the yeses. Yes, 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 yes. Me too.
Sure.
I have pretended too many times, and it has cost me my well-being. It's cost me my peace. It cost me my joy. What about you, Elise? Have you ever said that you were okay when you're really okay?
No, never. Of course. I think we've all been in places where the truth is that we feared man, this fear of man. Like, what will this person think of me? What will happen if I, say no? What's the pushback? What's the consequence if I say no? And, and that we did not represent ourselves well, that I didn't represent myself well. I misrepresented myself. If I say yes, when I don't, when I really wanted to say no, it's a misrepresentation of who I am. really, and I love your, you kind of thing. One, you get weak need, and then muddies the waters. Oh, you said yes last time, and now you're saying no this time, right?
Who are you?
Who are you? Right? Who are you? I'm confused, right? And so it's so important that we really do exercise and know who we are and be able to stand firm in that. Right. And if we have this sense, and we all do, nobody's going to get to here to eternity without caving, at times that, what we want to do, if I say this sentence, and I want you to finish it, Leanne, because it's really common. Practice makes what?
Progress.
Perfect. Yeah.
Oh, I said progress, not perfect.
Progress. It can. Yeah, absolutely. I think that. So practice makes perfect. And I kind of want to say that's not true.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah,
yes, not true, but it does make progress.
Yeah. So this, kind of line that we say all the time, practice makes perfect. Practice, like telling, if you just practice it, you perfect it, which is not true. I want, one, I like your practice makes progress. And I want to say practice makes permanence. That the more that we practice these healthy boundaries, they really will integrate and be a part of who we are. It won't be hard, or it'll be less hard. And, the times that we say yes when we didn't want to will be less and less. That these boundaries will really, and you said this as we were talking earlier, it's really about, it will create inner strength. This is why we need boundaries. That the more we integrate this into our life, the more, it's starting off in small ways that I say no when I'm a little bit afraid, will build a little more strength and a little more strength and a little more strength. And you will begin to represent yourself, more authentically, more and more and more. And again, in our weakness and our sinfulness, between now and eternity, that's why it's not going to be perfected, but it can be a very permanent part of who you are. And so I'd kind of written down that, that one of the reasons why, we're going to have healthy boundaries is it really will be honoring to us as image bearers, honoring to our God, first and foremost, and then honoring to us. And I wrote down a couple of things that, that the more we define ourselves well, it will block the action of unhealthy people continuing to do what they do. Right now, that may mean that my boundary is so extreme that I have to remove myself. That's an I will. If this continues, if this is who you want to be, if this is who you really are, I'm going to accept that. Kind of our core strength. I'm not going to, continue to pretend or dream that tomorrow's going to be a better day. I'm going to accept that. And I have to remove myself further and further and further from that, because I have to honor and protect myself. Right. And so the thing about honoring ourselves is that we are going to know our limits, and we're going to step into them.
Elise, I'd love to add something to that. Something that I had to do with somebody I love. So my mom is gone now. She passed away of cancer many years ago, but she was a smoker. And I have a son and a daughter who had asthma. And so when she came to my house,
right,
I had to, let her know that it wasn't okay,
right,
for the protection and safety of my children, that I wasn't going to have her smoking in my house. And so, I had to say things like, I had to work on it because I didn't want to shame her. That's her choice.
Right.
And that's her life decision. And so, Mom, I know you like to smoke. I get it, especially after a meal you really enjoy having a cigarette. It will hurt my children and damage their lungs and aggravate their asthma. So therefore, if you want to smoke, I'm going to ask you to step outside, go for a walk around the block, and not do it within the confines of my home.
Right.
If you can't do that, then it's okay that you not visit, because I get smoking is important to you.
Right.
And it's part of your life.
Right.
But with my children, I'm choosing to protect them. So having good boundaries also helps you to protect those you love.
Mm-hmm. Not just yourself, but those
and others.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that in. And another way to say it softly. Is I know it relaxes you, Mom. I know it's important.
Yeah.
So do you have some questions around boundaries? Do you have a reason that you want to set a boundary? What would be your why? Why is it important for you right now to learn more about healthy, good boundaries?
Right.
What's the reason you have? We'd love to hear from you. Do you have a question
Mhm.
for Coach Elise and I? Please feel free to type your question into the chat, and Kelly will pull those for us and send them to us.
Yeah.
And so I wonder how, while you're doing that, I wonder how many of you have ever heard this phrase. If you love me, you will always do what I want. A little bit of guilt tripping, a little bit of manipulation,
Mhm.
but it can prevent us from setting boundaries. If you love me, if you're committed, you're going to do what I want to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
That could be violating the very personhood you are.
Mhm.
And they're not honoring that. And so boundaries will also help you see and get to know other people.
Mhm.
If they're willy-nilly on their boundaries, they don't know where they end and where you begin, and where you begin and
Yep.
they, or
They
where
end.
you end and they begin. I forget what I just said. But if we
Yeah.
don't know that there's a right hand and a left hand, they're separate.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're separate. Even in a relationship, my right hand and my left hand are attached to my body, but they're separate parts of me.
Mhm.
One can hold and one can let go. One can grasp, one can give, one can receive.
Mhm.
They're different.
Mhm.
So,
I just had a client before this session, and I asked permission before I shared this. She shared with me in session. She said next week is her 51st birthday, and she printed out. She really wanted to focus on caring, self love and self care.
mm,
She printed out 12 pages of scripture
mm,
that talked about self love and self care. And so
wow.
as we really kind of walk into this boundaries, topic today, it really is about protecting what God has entrusted us. It's about honoring what God has entrusted us. And some of the things that Leanna, is speaking of is this undifferentiated self, meaning, someone is with us that can't see you as a different self. And so it's even more important if you have an unhealthy, undifferentiated, the word's big, sorry, undifferentiated self, it's so important that you rise up. And sometimes we're gonna have to do it slowly, step by step, of saying,
Mhm.
there is a me. One of the quotes that I kind of like, or a little tag line that I like, is oneness does not mean sameness.
Good.
So oftentimes we light the unity candle, we get married and we blow out the candle and then we have these blown out candles. And about, the next day when we're all by ourselves and, off on a honeymoon, we go, hey, I want to go see that. And somebody says, I want to go see that. It's like, uh-oh, these two blown out candles. Now what do we do? Right? All of a sudden they become lit again. Right?
Mm,
So we want to say that oneness, right, is unity, but it does not mean sameness. And so boundaries really define who I am,
mm,
and that I actually am different than you. And we're going to have to negotiate those differences, right? And so sometimes people are defining themselves in kind of very negative ways. I want you to be very, and sometimes it's our spouse or our significant other. It's like, wow, you're kind of defining yourself kind of ugly, but if that's you, right?
mm.
But how do we really hold on? And this is, I think, what you were really kind of talking about, Leanne. How do we hold on to ourself in this relationship, that we
Mm.
don't get guilted into, being undifferentiated, right? We don't
Right.
get guilty into not being us. So,
Yeah, I think, knowing, I often put it this way, Elise, is there's a you,
right.
there's a me, and there's a we. So
Right.
even, as you're looking at the screen right now, we're in two different frames. So Elise and I are here collaborating and partnering because we love
Right.
you, we love each other, we're
Right.
committed to this team, and we're committed to serving you. Elise is Elise.
Mm-hmm.
I am me, and
Mm-hmm.
together we are doing this thing.
Right.
And
It
just
doesn't
let
break our
everybody-
weeness.
What's that?
It doesn't break our weeness.
It does not break your weeness. So then my job is to be me.
Mhm.
Elise's job is to be her and
Mhm.
bring the best part of ourselves to
Mhm.
this conversation to serve the we, all of us together.
Mhm.
And so when we can do that, and it's the same way in our relationships, whether it be with our children or our spouses,
Mhm.
there is the you, there is the me, and then there is the we. There are
Mhm.
some decisions that can only be made for the me. And
Mhm.
part of that is your boundaries, your personal boundaries. That is a me job.
Mhm.
You're going to have collective boundaries in your relationships,
Right.
right? So in my marriage, we are a marriage of 2, not 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Monogamous. We are together. That is a boundary. Lord
Right.
willing, we'll stay there. That's
Right.
where we are.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is knowing that.
Mhm.
My husband loves to mountain bike. I do
Mhm.
not. I will go play pickleball. And so that's, I know he loves to mountain bike. That's about, I will not put myself in that kind of harm's way. I value
Mhm.
my appendages
Mhm.
and my brain. I'm a little worried that the helmet might not protect my one precious brain that I have.
Mhm.
So knowing what we're comfortable with,
Mhm.
what we will do, what we won't do,
Mhm.
and allowing other people the same privilege
Right.
to be them. And they will
Right.
show you who they are.
Right.
And that's
And
another
we
reason.
live with it, and sometimes we can't.
Right, Elise? And this
Mhm.
is, boundaries are a wonderful way to gather information and get feedback about who somebody is.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter it does matter what you say, but
Right.
I'm more concerned about what you do and how you live.
Read that.
Because many of us can say whatever we want. I'm guilty of that. I can talk a great story. I can talk a great story and not live it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
being real.
Yeah.
I don't always walk my talk.
Yeah.
I want to. It's my desire. It's who I want to be. But there are times where stress will get the better of me and I don't do it.
Yeah.
And so being able to communicate your boundaries by living them, by being them, like Elise said,
Mhm. Mhm.
practicing modeling for your kids. We've got young moms that spend time with us, right? And they're like, I just wish I could go to the bathroom by myself.
Yeah.
Right? So a boundary could be, please knock before you walk into the bathroom.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, let me just say, if you want your children to do that, then do it for them. Model it for them. That means you don't walk in when they're going to the bathroom. You knock at the door and model, live it. If it's important to you, then live it in front of other people. So that's one,
Mhm.
don't make phone. If you don't want to get a phone call after 9 o'clock at night from your mom, then don't call her after 9 o'clock at night. Model it,
Right.
be it. What thoughts do you have on that, Elise?
Yeah, I'm right. I'm right with you. I wanted to answer this one question because we could talk about this for a long time. We're almost
Oh
out of
my
time.
goodness, look at the
Is that
time.
okay? Yeah. Could I answer Julie's question?
Hey, we've
Yeah.
got one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was waiting for a
Yeah.
question.
That's
Beautiful.
all right. When sharing, I feel attacked. My H response is I feel attacked too. How do you express yourself when the other person doesn't listen and refocuses on himself? Um, I'm going to answer that, right? And so I would say, okay, so you feel attacked when I talk. I feel attacked when you talk. What do we need to do about that? Let's go to a we right away. Because then otherwise you're getting to well, I didn't mean to do that. Well, you didn't mean to do that. We're going to get in this
Then
big.
we play the blame game
We play the blame game. No, you're
or the
louder than
shame
I
game.
am. You're louder than I am. I feel, so, we both feel attacked when we're talking. And I don't think either one of us want to feel that way. What do we need to do? Let's go to we.
Go to the we. I love that, Elise. And we've got a question on our document as
Okay.
well.
All right.
And so when Julie asked, refocusing, focus on the we instead of allowing the focus to go on either one of you individually, because you're in a relationship with him. So what can you both do about it? It's giving shared responsibility instead of you taking all the responsibility for the situation, because you don't have all the responsibility. It's a we thing. Love that.
Yes, I actually think they have a place of agreement. And one of the things that I would say, even if it's negative, find a place of agreement. And they have a negative place of agreement. We both feel screamed at. Isn't that interesting? What do we need to do about it? Because we actually are in agreement there.
Wow, we're thinking the same thing. Neither one of us appreciate this moment.
Right. Exactly.
So good. Well, and here's another question, Elise. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read.
All right.
Thank you, Kelly, for posting these questions. I have compromised my values, trying to gain approval and trying to feel a part of the group, not acknowledging how important it is to be true to myself. Mm-hmm. I have so much work to do. Mm-hmm. So it's a question and a statement.
I can say it sounds like a statement. She's just letting us know, wow, she's really kind of hurt us today and recognizing her own self, mm-hmm. where she has misrepresented herself, and that's okay. Let's just start. And she has this great awareness. The aha is the crown jewel.
Indeed, self-awareness. And that's, boundaries allow us to be more self-aware. Mm-hmm. Going back, Elise, to your beautiful 3 points about defining ourselves, mm-hmm. honoring ourselves, and protecting ourselves. Mm-hmm. Boundaries also give us an opportunity to say no more abuse, right. No more emotional battering or emotional vomiting. Mm-hmm. I will not participate in a conversation where the shame and the blame game is the primary game that we're playing.
Right.
I won't do that. I will be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is healthy, mm-hmm. or that's at least walking into healthy land. I'm not healthy all the time, right? But at least that's where I know that we're going. Mm-hmm. But I will not play the shame and blame game with you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so this is where we can protect ourselves, so we can protect the sanctity of the relationship as well. Mm-hmm. And the safety within the relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, I often think of when I go bowling with my grandkids, we get the gutters. They love it because it lets them hit a pin every single time. That's what boundaries, you're going to hit the mark. You're going to be more impactful in your relationships. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say something I've said multiple times, but I don't believe that any relationship can thrive without some degree of a boundary. Sometimes they're going to be a soft boundary. Sometimes they're going to be a hard boundary.
Yeah.
And maybe some will be in between. But I believe all healthy relationships have bumpers.
Have to.
Things we won't say, things we will say, things we won't do, things we will do, who I won't be, who I will be.
Right. I think, Leanne, one of the things that you do so well, with our Conquer Women is, you start off kind of the whole journey with this safety piece, right? And so, we're really creating this place of safety with boundaries. Like, you're going to know who I am and you're not going to be fooled by it, right? Mm-hmm. So I have defined myself as safe. I've defined where I end, where I won't go, what I'll do, what I won't do, who I am, where I take responsibility, where I don't. If that's not laying a foundation for safety, I don't know what is, right? And even if it's negative boundaries, now wow, that person is actually not safe. If those are their boundaries, if those are their limitations, which are way wide from mine, now I know how safe they aren't, right? And so we have to be paying attention to who people say they are and where their limits or limitlessness is, right? And so the safety piece that Leanne is speaking about is it's really about our protection. I'm going to define, and if you're not kosher with it, or if you're not okay with it, then you have got to, they will let you know, and you need to step back. One of the things that you said real quickly, Ann, and then I'm going to need to step off, is you were really kind of defining yourself with it, and about these boundaries. Oh gosh, I lost my train of thought real quick. Can I pick it up? I don't think I can. Oh, and like if somebody's being really harsh on the other side of you, right? And I hope you guys have heard me say this before, and I really want you to. I don't want you to try to stop the person on the other side. And the way Leanne framed that, she was never trying to stop them from doing it. She was only defining what she would do if that continued. Let me just inform you, it's not a threat. There's no consequence to it. Consequences, you're going to lose me in the conversation, but right, they might not care. Right, yelling is the most important thing to them. You're just going to lose me in the conversation. It's just what I won't do. I'm not trying to control the other person. They may feel controlled, but you may even say, I can't even stop you from yelling at me if I wanted to. That belongs to you. I'm just saying what I'm going to do. Right. And that's exactly, and Leanne gave us a great example of what that looks like to even practice that. And I hope you'll, like when somebody's saying, you can't tell me, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not going to try to. I'm not even going to try to do that. So,
yeah. Lise, it's such a pleasure to be here with you and to share a conversation. Thank you all for choosing to spend the 60 minutes with Coach Elise and I. And, I think there's another benefit that you just brought up for me that really came up. I'd like to close with, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, another reason to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, is other people don't need to walk on eggshells around us.
Ooh,
and we don't need to walk on eggshells around other people.
There you go.
We hear that a lot in our ministry. Mm-hmm. And, it clears away, it sweeps away the eggshell.
Yeah.
Because it's clear. And I say this a lot, clear is kind.
Mm.
Boundaries are kind. Boundaries are loving. And boundaries are God's design. Mm-hmm. So let's lean in.
Right.
Reserve your seat in Walking in Core Strength. We would love to get to know you and to work with you for the next 3 months. We do start next week. Once they're closed, the groups are closed, they're closed. Right. So make sure that if you want a seat and you're committed, not just interested in really growing in your core strength, join us. Mm-hmm. Join us. We have a seat for you at the table and would love to get to know you.
Yeah. Agreed. Well said. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here. We will see you again. I think we have another live coming up. Let me take a peek. Our next live is on the 9th, so it's tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. How to stop being controlled by somebody else's emotions. So join us then. Woo!
Yeah.
Putting a boundary around your emotional well-being. I'll bet you that will get addressed tomorrow.
Wonderful.
We'll see you.
Thank you, ladies. Take care. Bye-bye.